Good afternoon, I'm Daniel Miller and this is Destiny 2 Beyond Light. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, viewers, community members, participants and squad mates worldwide. Thank you for watching our Destiny 2 stream here on my channel. Your help, your investment, your support and overall appreciation. Your support is always appreciated, and thank you for sending us some messages since yesterday on the content and all we did here. As you've seen, we had Sekapupu guiding us through some of the missions, and we are kind of progressing through the new format of Destiny New Light. The idea was to create my new character Hunter and therefore experience the new parts of the story. As you know, Destiny universe is being reworked. It's like a game in progress, and so far so good. We've had a lot of activities and plenty of fun really with the initial Guardian Rising section, but then unfortunately we just resorted to many other PvP and mundane grinding activities which really are not properly blending in with the story. So, to break it up, we've gone down the route of strikes, and with strikes we are getting quite a selection of story-based missions, and they're really quite exciting and highly energetic. So that was really good fun yesterday. We'll do quite a lot of that today. I think we'll have to be resorting to strikes if there's no other story-based content. It's funny, because I had some messages indicating that people are not playing Destiny, and since yesterday we had two people who are veterans, and they said, well, we're not doing it at all, we're just waiting for the new season to come out in February, then we'll consider whether to do anything that is on offer. And we also heard about some of the changes. The changes are to be applied from the 6th of February, and the weekly bounty will be gone. So we are not going to be having the weekly bounties, which are kind of strictly kind of time defined. You need to be doing that within a particular period of time of 7 days between two resets. That's going to be gone, and I think I'm not quite sure about the new concept, but there will be activities that will be season specific, so you'll be able to do them within a season. And I'm not sure what the reason for that is. I quite like the idea of doing daily, weekly and monthly grinds, and it just keeps people busy. People are dedicated community veterans, and the difficulties there are if the grinds are pointless. You just grind the same thing all over again, and you're getting the loot and the rewards that are not really particularly useful. That's been the main complaint, and that's what our veterans told me. Thank you to Joe from Nevada, and thank you to Sam from Washington DC. They said we play Destiny really ad infinitum, and we just stopped doing it because we felt that last year was really quite poor. It was the piece of content. We've gone back for Beyond Light, and they said that they really enjoyed the content. They really found it to be very rewarding with all that was on offer, and also the light change of direction. But they thought Bungie should have put a lot more effort into giving a lot more story-based content, and generally they didn't like the way the story was reworked with the absence of all the planets. They thought that there were parts of that story-based campaign selection missions that really should have remained. And I think personally I quite like the idea of the planets being reworked. We discussed this here live and now several times. I feel that the planets were poorly designed, and also initially when I'm talking about the planets that went, because it felt like two different companies working on a game. There were planets being done in a way which seemed like really wishy-washy and quite flimsy, and then you had high quality 4K top-notch resolution with the other sections, like for instance the tower, or later which Shadowkeep, the moon, and Tango Shore, for instance, Dreaming City, they're fantastically well designed. It's really, really very, very immersive environments. Well, Io, Nexus, and Mars seemed really quite pedestrian, really quite poor. And although on Mars we had Escalation Protocol, which is one of my main activities, I'm really, really sorry that for whatever reason we are simply missing out on, waves of enemies coming in. But what they've done is, obviously with this in mind, they did plan for the vaulting of Mars was Altars of Sorrows, the mission which is kind of 6th tier based on the moon. So that is a replacement. It's a very, very similar sort of activity, just different enemies and different planets. And I think that was something they had in mind as they were considering the substitute. Coming back to our friend Sam from Washington DC, he said, "I really love Destiny. I like grinding, but I felt lots of our rewards were quite pointless because I just keep grinding and getting the same thing, which is useless." I think that's really a very, very important point. We actually want to be rewarded with something significant. And if I was to be advising Bungie, I would say give the rewards within seasonal content that are tied in to the future development of the story. Collect artifacts, collect books, collect items that will bring you in to the next chapter. So you'll be wondering what the next chapter is going to be like, and it's going to be tied in with the story, and later you'll be able to use it. So, no big deal, not rocket science. But we all have to be a bit more understanding towards the developer, because everyone's suffering from the pandemic. They're not working from the offices, so their abilities to do certain things are severely restricted. And I think they just kept everything going during the last year. They had to really ditch some of the plans and some of the ideas that were indeed mentioned beforehand. And personally, I was very happy with Beyond Light. I think I still haven't finished it. On Xbox, I got stuck with one of the major bosses, and quite frankly, I need some other helping hands to come in for our friends to join us and destroy the enemy. Because those big strikes, the big missions with mega large, mega powerful bosses have been designed with a 3-man team in mind. And because mainly I've been streaming on PlayStation, when I migrated to Xbox streams, then a lot of people were not joining me for the reason alone that they knew they couldn't join me instantly. Destiny is still not cross-platform, but not for long. Destiny is going to be cross-platform. We expect that to be taking place before April. So the developer didn't confirm the exact date, but that's the plan for the first part of the year, and way before we get the next expansion in September. So that's very good news. We'll be able to bring everyone in, and that will be thoroughly enjoyable. We've seen the exponential rise of the games like Warzone and Apex as they went cross-platform. The community's just got better and better, and the Warzone community that we established in here grew from strength to strength in days rather than weeks. So it's a no-brainer. I know some people who like FPS will say we don't really support the idea, but you will have the option. Just switch it off. You stick to your console or to your PC. You don't have to play cross-platform. So that's the benefit, That's the benefit of having the new systems developed, because previously cross-platform meant the other section was turned obsolete, but that's no longer the case. So that's all very, very good, very enjoyable, and indeed we all look forward to it. So that's the next step. So thanks to our friends for sending us messages. I hope you are going to be rejoining Destiny, and I think there is a lot more of shelf life and plenty of novel, interesting, engaging content to come our way. I think if we consider Europa as the new planet, opening up the new saga, it's a very, very big map with loads of activities and plenty of opportunities for new content to be inserted. So if we get other planets with the same degree of content, think of the moon, for instance, the moon from Destiny 1 and the way it is today. The moon that we encounter here in Destiny Universe compared to the original is a lot more immersive, does have many more sections that can be explored and plenty of more activities. So it is the same planet, but we had discovered all other sections of it that were previously not known to man, and therefore we are able to crack on with plenty of story-based missions, patrols, explorations of locked sectors and everything else. So that's the idea. They want to make those planets very, very long-term, in particularly if you're looking at a Vanguard exploration, or the type of game activity which is kind of going to be blending it with the games like Elder Scrolls, or the big open world games. Always something to discover, but it's a change of direction. It is something that they worked on for quite a while, and I think originally considered to be an organic extension of Halo. Destiny did take a different route in due course, and we are very excited to see how the RPG content and everything else will be developing. I certainly can absolutely vouch for the introduction of the in-game tutor. Shohan is operating very well in the first reworked migration from Destiny 1. He is a lot better storyteller than the Ghost, and it's much easier to comprehend all that's been happening to humanity. I think the Ghost was giving us a major information overload. I kept listening to the Ghost and I tried to work out the characters and the situations, and just seemed to be all abbreviated and very hard to digest. In this instance, through the reworked aspects of the story, it is very easy to understand, and it's proper storytelling. So, that is what I look forward to. A couple of other news bits here today. First of all, if you are on Xbox Series X or S, definitely jump in and try Medium. It was released yesterday. A game that is very similar to Resident Evil, I think, in its dimension, taking place in Poland, in Krakow to be precise, in a dilapidated hotel where the protagonist is discovering very dark parts of her distant past, something related to family life and distressing moments and situations that plagued her. And so if you are on the new console, you'll be able to access it. Unfortunately, we cannot, and I do not have Series S or X in my possession as yet. I will be getting it very, very shortly. I have placed myself on the priority list through my internet and mobile operator, and that is EE in Britain, in the UK, and I will be getting it, I think, once they get the next lot of Xbox consoles dispatched. As you know, there is a shortage of consoles worldwide, and that is really plaguing both Xbox and PlayStation, purely due to the demand and the pandemic and everything else. So that's looking good. So once I get my Xbox Series S, which is portable, I can take it everywhere, and you will be familiar with the concept of the console having no physical drive. It's like digital only, and I think it is a very, very good way forward. It's like a bridge between the present Xbox One console and then the top-ranking, top-notch Series X, which is, I have to say, very expensive, and for the vast majority of our friends, fairly way out of out of reach for quite some time. And they're offering some really good deals through mobile and internet operators. So, for instance, I talked about it quite a bit this week. The Project S is available on the price of £229, but I think you can pay it off on 11-month installments, interest-free. So you're not basically borrowing any money, and you will be paying even less. It's 11 installments of £18. So let me work this out. So that is £202. So you're saving, I think, £18 overall on the overall price, and that is really tremendous. Excuse me. Also, what I like in particular is that it is being tied in with our contracts, which means you pay a contract in any case for whatever you're using, and it's just added on. Therefore, you actually pay it off in 11 months if everything is, without any difficulty. And that is indeed what I like doing the best. I've had some of these offers in the past, and I remember a little while back I bought my first home cinema system. It was exactly the same. It wasn't through the operator, it was through a retailer, offered it free of charge, interest-free, and I paid it off, without even knowing. It was just incredible. So these are the good offers, and make sure you snap them up early, because they will not remain for a long while. They're probably for a limited number of months or even weeks in order to promote the product, and then later they will be gone. So it's likely that some of the offers will remain, but they may not be as appealing. Don't forget, anybody using Xbox or PlayStation will also be then using the services provided by their mobile or internet operator, which means it will be of mutual benefit. So that's one big piece of news. Try Medium on the new console. It's been released yesterday. And then the other is, we've heard that they are just polishing off Halo Infinite. So I think its release date in November is going to be definitely, or it's likely to be, the real one. They said that the game already performed very, very well on the next gen, and they're very, very happy with the results. So that's wonderful news coming from 343. And then let me think. Yeah, the biggest thing really for everyone who's on PlayStation is there were some questions coming in as well, but I forgot to raise them here. The questions were about the games that are currently coming out, and the questions were, well, are those games going to be just PlayStation 5 specific? Well, the answer to that is, presently these games are not just tied in to PlayStation 5, because every one of those released so far, inclusive of Watch Dogs, Valhalla, Assassin's Creed, and Cyberpunk, they had the dual capability. So if you bought the game, you would be able to play the game on either of the consoles, irrespective of when and how you access them. There probably will be some games in the future that will be PlayStation 5 exclusives. But the best news is, if you're on PlayStation 4, like myself, you would have noticed that for the last month of PlayStation Plus, we were given this game called Man Eater, and it said playable only on PlayStation 5. But I didn't realize until today, as I read the news from Push Square, that we, the owners of PlayStation 4, can actually get it for free as well. So it's not dependent on whether you are already in possession of the new console. You can simply add it to your library of titles. So you must be claiming these games. I need to find out whether I missed out on one last month, because I just simply assumed the game is not going to be playing on PlayStation 4, and therefore it's of no use for me to be doing it. And so I guess it's something that everybody needs to remember. And I keep saying to all my community members, everyone who is on PlayStation Plus or indeed on Xbox Live Gold, you must claim all these games. They're being offered every month, sometimes in quite large numbers, and you really want to, get hold of every one of those. I think as far as the freebies are concerned, PlayStation is giving you a better deal, because we did see quite a selection of Sony exclusives which were given free of charge. Horizon Zero Dawn, Heavy Rain, Detroit, and let me think what else. Well, these are the first ones that come to mind, but lots of other wonderful AAA blockbusters given to us every month. So therefore, you really want to download them and keep them. Just remember, the new system is somewhat different. They also want people to download the blockbuster rather than just add it to your account. You've got to download it, because once you download it in full, it will register. Otherwise, you can't just simply add it. And they probably realize if you're adding the games and they're not playing them, which I think is something that happens to avid gamers, because the sheer volume of the titles that keep coming in at all times. And that is of concern to me. I have to say, as a streamer, I spend a lot of time doing specific games, and then I don't have time for all the other things which are on offer. So the beauty of streaming platforms like PS Now and Game Pass is purely in the ease of access. Basically, you can simply walk in and then try the game without any difficulty, particularly on PlayStation Now, that runs its streaming services directly off the console. You just click on stream, you watch the game, and you can try and find out what the game is. In fact, to tell you the truth, I have been listening to Xbox podcasts quite a lot in recent months, and usually when I go and have my dinner in the evening, I walk quite a while. I walk 5 miles each way to the neighbouring town. I listen to the podcast. So I've gone through quite a few really. I probably covered the entire selection of podcasts that would have been delivered last year, and there were like 2 games that kept popping up that both Jeff and Larry talked about at length. And I think Jeff is a huge fan of Yakuza, and it's fully understandable. He, prior to playing the first game, never heard of Yakuza, never played any of those games before. And then once introduced, purely by chance, I think through some of the work-related interviews, he tried it and he loved it, and he was delighted to see that the game was coming to Game Pass. And yesterday we've had a full introduction of Yakuza Remastered Trilogy, so you can download them separately. And these are the games, I think, was it 3, 4, 5? I think it was 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5. I think it is Yakuza 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, that's right. Or you can download them as a bundle. So up to you, really. I think I probably will download the bundle, because there might be some add-ons and stuff, interesting stuff in there. And he's been recommending it quite a lot. And then the other game that they talked about, I played Yakuza, one of them. I loved it. I think it's absolutely wonderful game. It's a combination of fighting RPG, of I think there's puzzles, but adventure, RPG, and fighting, all combined in a wonderful kind of Japanese-styled, Tokyo-based environment, where you get to know everything about the characters. So you really kind of feel for them. It's very emotional, and it's very similar to what you get in some of the Japanese films, if you're familiar with some of the sub-genres, like samurai films, the gangster films, and that. I think lots of people over here in the UK are not watching any of these due to the distribution restrictions, but you really need to subscribe to some of the online hubs and get to know them, because the Japanese gangster films are incredible, and crime film in general. Although, for whatever reason, probably to do with film history, Japan was always hailed for their samurai perfection and portrayal of history. But that's just a tiny little section of the fantastic cinema that they have, a national cinema that is full of very, very interesting directors, performers, actors, screenwriters, and a cinema that is very, very diverse and very energetic, with very many things on offer every single year. So definitely very, very interesting. I've got to say that I also did not watch many Korean films or Taiwanese films for many years, but then we had a Korean Cultural Centre established in London, and they had several seasons and festivals, and there were seasons at the National Film Theatre. I went to one of them, watched everything that was on offer, and it was absolutely blinding. It was incredible. I loved every one of the films. Just like so refreshing. It was a different filmmaking style and a variety of different themes, and everything seemed really, really appealing. So I spent a lot of time watching and analyzing and learning about the cinemas, and I highly recommend that to everyone. There are some wonderful, wonderful books and online hubs catering for people who are interested, with plenty of information to offer. So that is wonderful, and I really think that Yakuza is one of those games that is kind of blending things together. It is very much like something coming from Southeast Asia, but on the other hand, we also have quite a major input in there with the elements that are fairly familiar to the Western audiences, and the input of gangster genre and love stories and various other types of activities in the game. The reason I'm telling you is that Jeff also was recommending Wasteland 2 and 3. They talked quite a lot about Wasteland 3. Both Larry and Jeff indicated that they also played the other game, which was released prior to, the one that came out last year. And I went and had a look, because I talked a lot about it, saying this is like a wonderful RPG. It has all kinds of fantastic elements in the story, beautifully told, great narrative, loads of characters, and I said, I'll download and have a look. I actually did download both games a while back on my Xbox, but not tried them. But yesterday, I really kind of said I really want to see it after hearing a few things said on the podcast. So I tried it, and it was great. It just really came across as a wonderful, wonderful RPG. It did remind me of, in its kind of in its kind of in-game mechanics and the style, kind of a combination of Diablo and maybe more of the original Fallout, because you are watching the characters from bird's view, and then you're moving them around. But it's a lot of dialogue, and there's plenty of people you can talk to, beautifully delivered and acted, voiceovers everywhere. Really, really interesting. So I'm really curious to see what the game's like. I just had a look, and it grabbed me. It's the kind of game that you want to be playing straight away. But I'm doing at the moment Skyrim, and Skyrim is a massive game. I'm doing it within its new format with mods. I'm not playing it just alone. I have 2 followers there in the game, a chaperone and a fan. So it gives a different perspective on the game. I changed everything with skins and non-playable characters. So loads of characters I've never seen in Skyrim before. So very, very interesting. And all of that is available on Xbox Game Pass for free. And it's part and parcel of the new special edition, which has been remastered for the usage on next-gen consoles, and absolutely one of those wonderful, wonderful games that everyone needs to try. I want to have a good run on Skyrim before I start streaming it, and this is going to be Golden Oldies, the big one on Golden Oldies that I'll stream here on the channel. So watch this space for more. And I really kind of reduced my streaming hours to a degree in recent months, because I felt streaming as a regular practice is very testing, and it does require a lot of input and attention and communication and interactivity, with people coming in and talking and everything else. So I really wanted to dedicate a bit more time, if possible, to just gaming and enjoying certain games without anything else that was to be done, because you appreciate, as I'm streaming, I'm getting messages coming in, people interacting, we got participants popping in, so it's a different sort of activity altogether. And I enjoyed really playing games in seclusion, i.e. outside of my broadcasting hour recently, and I tried quite a few, and as I said, I really can't stress how important it is for you to join Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Now services. You will support those companies by doing so, and also you'll be able to access so many different games. I've just had a look at PlayStation Now services yesterday, and they introduced so many Japanese games that I've never played before, and they're fantastic. They're really wonderful. The usual RPG types of games that Japan has to offer. Really, really good stuff. Really enjoyable, and you can just have a look and you can try them a bit, and quite a variety on offer at all times. Also, they're adding on titles. I've seen quite a selection. They had, I think, Cyberfrost and what was it? No, Frostpunk, I beg your pardon. And I've seen Oblivion. I've seen Skyrim. I didn't see on PlayStation. Oblivion I did see. Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 3, 4, and Vegas. All of them instantly accessible. So that's basically in line with Xbox as well, because Microsoft purchased or acquired Bethesda, and they'll be getting many more Bethesda games in there. So the big inclusions, the first big inclusion was Skyrim, obviously one of the very best games that Bethesda produced, and already previously we did have Fallout 3 and 4 and Vegas introduced. So I think these were previously on a kind of time-limited periods, but as they obviously acquired Bethesda, it will be proprietary to Microsoft, so they will stay there forever. Anyway, so these are some of my thoughts. I need to take a very short break. Once I come back, we'll crack on with our activities here in Destiny. We'll try to bring in our friends Spurs and Sakabubu. We'll have a look at some of the activities. So just bear with me. I'll be back very shortly.